Hello and a very warm welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching Verdict 2015 with me, Frank Pereira. Here are today's Verdict headlines. Campaigning for the first phase of polls in Bihar comes to an end. Chief Minister Nitish Kumar and BJP President Amit Shah were among the star campaigners on the last day. Security tightened across the state ahead of the first phase of polling. Central paramilitary forces to handle security at polling booths. Wanted Maoist arrested by police in Gaya. Material used in explosives recovered from him. And in focus today is Begusarai, once known as the industrial capital of the state. Neglected by successive governments, will the district regain its lost glory? Well, the campaigning for the first phase of Bihar Assembly elections ended a short while ago. Voting for the first phase in 49 constituencies will be held on October 12th. 586 candidates are in the fray for the phase 1 in 10 districts. 10 seats in Samastipur, 7 seats each in Begusarai and Bhagalpur, 5 each in Banka and Nawada, 4 each in Khagaria and Jamui, 3 in Munger and 2 each in Lakhisarai and Sheikhpura will go to polls. Morwa and Moyuddin Nagar seats in Samastipur have maximum of 18 candidates each. Varsaliganj and Nawada have a maximum of 6 candidates. The battle is tough between the BJP-led NDA alliance comprising of Jitan Ram Manjhi's HAMS, Ramvilas Paswan's Lok Janshakti Party and the Grand Alliance comprising of Congress, Nitish Kumar-led JDU and Lalu Prasad-led Rashtriya Janata Dal. On the last day of campaigning, leaders of all major political parties were on the campaign trail, making a last-ditch effort to woo voters.
Campaigning for the first phase of polling in Bihar ended on Saturday as the Model Code of Conduct came into force post 5 p.m.
Bharat Mata Ki.
But leaders of all major political parties made good use of the last few hours of campaigning to woo voters. Among the big leaders who were out campaigning were Chief Minister Nitish Kumar, Home Minister Rajnath Singh and BJP President Amit Shah. Nitish Kumar held 6 rallies on Saturday, 5 of which were in constituencies that vote on Monday. He held rallies in Banka, Bhagalpur, Jamui, Nawada, Sheikhpura and Gaya. In Gaya, Nitish was back with his promise of development and thrashing the BJP. Home Minister Rajnath Singh was also on the campaign trail. He campaigned in Nawada and Tarapur, while BJP President Amit Shah addressed a rally in Samastipur. 10 districts go to polls in the first phase on Monday. These include 49 seats in Samastipur, Begusarai, Khagaria, Bhagalpur, Banka, Munger, Lakhisarai, Sheikhpura, Nawada and Jamui. While there is a sense of excitement among voters in these constituencies, there is also anger at the political parties. Security has been tightened in these districts. While paramilitary troops will take care of security at the polling booths, the patrolling and other security measures are being taken care of by the Bihar police. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Joining me for a chat right now is our correspondent Vishal Dahiya. Vishal, the campaigning for the first phase has ended. The political parties have done their bit. What is it that we need to watch out for Monday's polling?
Well, Frank, what needs to be watched out for is the way the voters will turn out. Number one, all eyes will be on actually how many voters will turn out. The number of voters who will actually come out and cast their votes. That is one thing on which all eyes will be set on, and not only the analysts but also the political parties, because these numbers will have different meanings for different political parties. And given the fact that the Grand Alliance, which is being led by Nitish Kumar, is also fighting an anti-incumbency factor. Nitish Kumar has been in the seat of power for 10 years, and another alliance partner, RJD, was in power before that for at least 15 years. So obviously that is something which is going to be a very important factor for them. Apart from that, given the high-pitched campaign which we have witnessed in the past few days, that is indicative of how tough this electoral fight is and how difficult it is going to be for the political parties, or rather had been for the political parties, to try try and woo the voters to their respective sides. Now it will be the voters' turn to take a final call as to what might have impressed them, the issues or the statements or the claims and counterclaims which have so far been made by the political leaders of almost all parties in this run up to the first phase. Now, if you look at the past figures and the present situation, then it's a very interesting scenario in these elections. In 2010 assembly elections, all the three alliance partners of the Grand Alliance, that's JDU, Congress and RJD, fought separately. But the number of seats which were won by these three while fighting separately were more than what the BJP and its alliance partners got. In the previous elections, it was JDU plus BJP fighting elections together. This time around, it is JDU versus BJP. And now, this time around, BJP has, BJP has found new friends. They have LJP, RLSP and HAM on their side. So it'll be really interesting to see whether or not this newfound friendship will be beneficial to the BJP or the JDU's gambit of going along with RJD and Congress will be beneficial to them.
You know, of late we've seen, Vishal, that the Election Commission has done a stellar job and, the voter turnout in several of the elections over the last couple of years has been extremely high. Do you believe that it's going to be the same this time around? What were some of the significant challenges that the EC faced?
Well, a number of steps has been taken by the Election Commission. You're right. In the previous few elections, we have found that the kind of initiatives which were taken by the EC officials in sanitizing the general voter, exhorting him or her to come out and vote, specifically the younger segment, the youth segment of the of those who are going to vote for the first time or second time. That had paid dividends, and we've seen the percentage of voters who cast their votes going up significantly in previous few elections. That is something which the EC is hoping will happen this time around as well. There are a significant number of young voters in these elections also in Bihar who are going to either vote for the first time or maybe will be casting their vote for the second time, first being the Lok Sabha election. So that is an area where, as I was saying earlier, all eyes will be set on not only the Election Commission and the political analysts, but also the political parties and their leaders as well.
All right, Vishal Dahiya, thanks so much for joining us there with those details and bring us up to speed with the latest from Bihar. Joining me for a chat right now is Shaibal Gupta, Member Secretary, Asian Development Research Institute from Patna. Shaibal Gupta, thank you so much for joining me on the program. What is it that's going to be different this time around as far as the polls are concerned? One interesting aspect is that former foes have now turned friends. So is that going to play on the minds of the voters?
Some sense this is going to be a benchmark election because after almost 25 years, a new coalition has emerged in Bihar. Earlier, essentially, this was between bipolar coalition between NDA and RJD. Now, for the first time, the main coalition is RJD as well as JDU at one side and NDA on the other side. Now, in the context of Bihar, this is a very significant development, and that apart from these two bipolar organizations, there is another third front which is playing a very important role. That is Mulayam and Pappu Jadav's organization. And we have yet to understand what is going to be the role of the OAC in the context of Bihar. So this is a benchmark election because earlier there used to be quite an acrimonious electoral battle between RJD at one side and JDU and BJP combination on the other side. This is going to change in this election.
Right.
So in that sense, it is a very important benchmark election.
All right. Do stay with us. Do stay with us, Shaibal Gupta. I'm going to come back to you on the next story as well for a reaction. Now, the polling booths in the state will not be secured by Bihar police. Upon specific instructions from the Election Commission, security at polling booths will be taken care of by central paramilitary forces. Here's more.
Unprecedented arrangements have been made to ensure tight security ahead of the Bihar polls. What's unique about the arrangements this time around is that the Bihar police will not man any polling booth across the state. Central paramilitary forces will man the 62,779 booths.
We have got around 725 companies of CAPF, which is a record number. And prior to that, we have got around 250 companies of forces which are doing the area domination, meaning thereby, as far as the difficult, sensitive Naxal areas are concerned, we are continuously doing the operations.
The role of the Bihar police during polling will be of patrolling and other peripheral tasks. Last time around, the CRPF manned about 80% of the booths. This time around, that will be 100%. Apart from the CRPF, the centre has also brought in the BSF, the SSB and the ITBP. Permission has also been granted for using companies of other wings of the army. The ITBP and the BSF will be stationed in sensitive areas, especially Naxal-hit areas.
ऐसी बात नहीं है कि बिहार पुलिस को चुनाव से अलग रखा गया। इनफैक्ट उनके द्वारा भी चुनाव में डिफरेंट एक्टिविटीज़ हैं, पेट्रोलिंग का काम है, सेक्टर ऑफिसर का काम है और इनफैक्ट एक ही बिल्डिंग में जहां ज़्यादा मतदान केंद्र हैं वहां पे सेंट्रल आर्म्ड पुलिस फोर्स का ओवरऑल उसका सिक्योरिटी की रिस्पांसिबिलिटी रहेगा, बट उनको फर्दर सपोर्ट करने के लिए, सप्लीमेंट करने के लिए वहां पे बिहार पुलिस भी काम करेगा।
The police are also on the lookout for those keeping weapons as they fear this can be misused.
आगामी विधानसभा चुनाव के लिए एक बहुत ही कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव सिक्योरिटी प्लान बनाया गया है। चुनाव के पहले जो सुरक्षा का माहौल है, विधि व्यवस्था का जो माहौल है, उससे बेहतर और सुदृढ़ करना है।
A total of 735 companies of paramilitary forces are being deployed. This is the first time that paramilitary forces are being deployed in such large numbers in any elections. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Shaibal Gupta, coming back to you now, of course, considering the violent past that we've seen as far as elections in Bihar is concerned, you know, several instances of violence, booth capturing and such issues in the past, of course. So this time around, the paramilitary forces will be used. Do you think that it is a welcome move and something that will ensure that polls go on smoothly?
No, if you see in the recent period, I think since 2005, the incidence of booth capturing or malpractices in the election has diminished substantially. But interestingly, in the first phase of the election, which is taking place day after tomorrow, I think it's going to be very interesting because the whole history of booth capturing in Bihar started from Begusarai. That was one of the villages in Rachiyai district. Way back in 1957, booth was captured, and mainly the Musselmen from a particular village came and they captured the booth. Now, the areas where the election, first phase election is taking place, normally this is the area where Musselmen played very important role earlier. But I think in the last couple of elections, the booth capturing has diminished. Earlier, it was normally the case where the subaltern and the marginal classes they were excluded from voting. Later on, it was a case where the people from the elites were deprived from voting. But now, it is more or less the situation where booth capturing has diminished substantially.
All right. Shaibal Gupta, we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us on the program and putting things into perspective for us and sharing your views on both those subjects that we discussed here. It's time for a short break now, but up next, the Naxal menace remains in the spotlight in Aurangabad district of Bihar. Details after this short break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Today we bring to you the Negotiable Instruments Amendment Second Ordinance 2015.
I think the ordinance in itself has created or made it much more easier for the individual borrowers banks to go and file a case wherever this is happening.
This has provided an immediate relief to all those small borrowers and the small businessmen.
Whenever we are working with fund houses and they have been, lending money, there are multiple check bouncing cases which we are facing on a daily basis.
Watch Law of the Land, Sunday 10 p.m. and Monday 8:30 a.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, Gaya police has arrested a dangerous Maoist Sunil Dangi. Police have also recovered various items which are used in explosions from him. Heavy explosives have been recovered from him. There were other Maoists with him when he was arrested, but they managed to give the police a slip. However, with this arrest and recovery, a major attack in Gaya has been averted.
हमारा सूचना तंत्र हम लोगों ने मजबूत किया है। हमारे जो फोर्सेज हैं बहुत एक्टिव हैं। तो पिछले हाल के दिनों में आप देखेंगे कि हम लोग उनको नाकाम करने में सफल रहे हैं और आगे भी उम्मीद करते हैं कि अगर भगवान का साथ रहा तो हम लोग अपनी मुस्तैदी से उसको असफल करेंगे।
Well, for leaders campaigning in Aurangabad district of Bihar have one common issue, the Naxal menace. Frequent Naxal activities have instilled fear among the local residents. The district is categorized as one of the most sensitive region in the forthcoming polls. Here's a look.
News of Naxals targeting police personnel, torching vehicles or blowing up landmines and IEDs do not amuse the people of Aurangabad anymore. In fact, it is one of the reasons why many are compelled to migrate elsewhere to catch up with the pace of development. Naxal threat diced with lack of employment opportunities and infrastructure force voters to question apathy of political leaders.
आने वाला समय में इसको तो सुधार करना बहुत जरूरी है, चाहे प्यार से हो, चाहे प्रशासनिक ढंग से हो या शैक्षणिक ढंग से हो, सामाजिक ढंग से हो, इसको सुधार करना निहायत जरूरी है, तभी हम विकास की बात कर सकते हैं।
Political parties have resorted to all forms of canvassing to woo the voters. The poster war between them is as pronounced as their claims to check the Naxal menace.
कुछ वर्गों का, कुछ लोगों का एक गिरोह है और हम उस पर अंकुश लगाएंगे। किस तरह से, क्या स्ट्रैटेजी? विकास करके।
सबसे पहले तो है कि जो उनके जो बेसिक नीड्स हैं, बुनियादी जो उनकी जरूरतें हैं, उनको पूरा करना हमारा लक्ष्य होना चाहिए। जीवन यापन के लिए उनके पास साधन होगा तो वो इन सब चीजों के बारे में सोचेंगे ही नहीं।
Aurangabad district has 6 assembly constituencies. Amid threat from Maoists to disrupt polls, the administration has drawn an action plan to beef up security in all the constituencies.
Look, we have identified the areas which are prone to Naxal infestation, and we already have the central paramilitary forces. They have already started the area domination, confidence building measures. So we are fully prepared for free and peaceful elections.
The number of incidents related to the Naxals have gone down, but records are still worrying with over hundreds of such incidents recorded every year. In last 5 years, over 300 people have died in the Naxal attacks.
Following the election notification, the Naxalite groups in southern Bihar have called for complete boycott of 2015 elections. While the administration is trying to ensure free and fair elections, the elected government thereafter must ensure life free from Naxal menace. Reporting from Aurangabad with camera person Sudhanshu, I'm Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
Well, the birth anniversary of political and social reformer Jayaprakash Narayan will be observed tomorrow. JP was, of course, the inspiration for many political leaders who are fighting the Bihar elections. Let's take a look at what they have done for his memory, in particular for JP's ancestral village, Sitab Diara. Here's a special report by our correspondent Ravindra Sheron.
He is the man who spearheaded the biggest movement in post-independent India. But in Bihar, residents of his native village, Sitab Diara, are still struggling to acquire the fruits of development. Reaching the village itself needs you to go to Uttar Pradesh, all because successive governments in the state haven't been able to provide a bridge.
लालू का भी काल चला गया, विकास नहीं हुआ। नीतीश का भी काल चला गया, विकास नहीं हुआ। अब एक बार नरेंद्र मोदी ने, भारत सरकार ने इसको जयप्रकाश नगर लाला टोला को, जयप्रकाश जी की जन्मभूमि को राष्ट्रीय स्मारक जयप्रकाश फाउंडेशन को राष्ट्रीय स्मारक घोषित किया है। जनता को एक बहुत बड़ी उम्मीद जगी है।
JP's ancestral village fares even worse. Over the years, many of his acolytes and followers have occupied significant ministerial posts in central and state governments. But barring election season, JP is never on their minds.
हमारे पास कोई सुविधा नहीं है, नहीं मेरे जगह जमीन है, न मेरे पेंशन है, नहीं मेरे पास कुछ है। एक लड़का एक लड़की है, वो अपना कमाता पेट काट के हमको पालता है।
In these assembly elections, both the NDA and the Grand Alliance leaders are once again seeking votes in JP's name. But this village of 25,000 people are tired of unfulfilled promises, although some of them do express their faith in their MP Rajiv Pratap Rudy, who has adopted the village.
जब से गोद लिए हैं, तब से तो शौचालय का जो काम हुआ है अभी शुरू हुआ है, कुछ शौचालय बना है। जहाँ पानी का टंकी मोटा वाला गया है, वहाँ हल्का नल सब बन रहा है, लेकिन आदर्श ग्राम का मतलब जो पूरा विकास होना चाहिए वो सब नहीं हुआ।
सिर्फ राजनीतिक लोग अपनी राजनीतिक रोटियां ही सकते हैं, और जब वोट की राजनीति करनी होती है तो जेपी जी याद आते हैं, और जेपी जी के याद आते हैं उनका घर याद आता है, और यहाँ पर तमाम घोषणाएं की जाती है, और घोषणाएं घोषणा तक ही सीमित रह जाता है।
Shifting contours of land due to the changing course of the Ganga, Kosi and Gandak rivers, illegal encroachments, joblessness and illegal sale of hooch are the main issues that are seeking urgent answers here. Let's wait and see if it happens after the assembly elections. Ravindra Sharan Singh's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, Begusarai was once considered the industrial capital of the state, but today it's facing years of neglect by successive governments. The closure of several small-scale units has led to the migration of both industrialists and workers. Here's a report by our correspondent Vishal Dahiya.
Oil refinery and a fertilizer unit in the same district. Some would say it is good for small-scale industries. However, in Begusarai, that is not the story.
Once considered to be the industrial capital of Bihar, Begusarai is now struggling to live up to the tag. Over a period of time, several large industrial units are fighting for their survival, and small-scale industries dependent on these large units have closed down.
Barauni Oil Refinery had brought a lot of hope to the people here, with several small-scale units for manufacturing wax, etc. coming up in the industrial estate of the district. These units were dependent on the refinery for their raw material, but with time, the quantity of raw material slipped and then stopped altogether. This meant curtains for these ancillary units.
फर्टिलाइजर भी बंद है, और जो भी छोटे छोटे उद्योग थे बंद हैं। इसके चलते यहाँ लोगों को रोजगार के लिए भी दूसरे स्टेट में पलायन करना पड़ा। मुद्दा तो होगा ही।
बेगूसराय की जो दुर्दशा अभी है, ऐसा कभी नहीं था। नहीं यहाँ नेशनल हाईवे 4 लेन में पास हुआ तो आज तक नहीं बना। फर्टिलाइजर बैठ गया, थर्मल अभी तक जो बन रहा था अभी तक नहीं बना है। यहाँ पर देवना में जो फैक्ट्री था प्राइवेट लोगों का, सबका इंडस्ट्रियल एरिया सब ध्वस्त हो गया। यहाँ के लोग तो मर रहे हैं। कोई भी सामान यहाँ महंगा बिकता है। बालू, गिट्टी, मकान बनाना सब कुछ महंगा हो गया।
बहुत दिक्कत है। क्यों? क्योंकि यहाँ जो भी फैक्ट्री था वो बंद पड़ गए हैं। अभी तक उसका उद्घाटन नहीं हुआ, चल नहीं रहा। इसके लिए बेरोजगारी तो है ही।
The entrepreneurs in the district blame the successive governments for their plight.
रिफाइनरी बेस पर यहाँ यूनिटें लगी, जैसे वो मोम की यूनिट हो या अगरबत्ती की यूनिट हो, उसका रॉ मटेरियल बरौनी रिफाइनरी द्वारा मिलता था। तो रिफाइनरी द्वारा मिलता था, रिफाइनरी ने इस दोनों चीज़ों को बंद कर दिया, तो उस कारण यहाँ की इंडस्ट्री बंद हो गई। तो और दूसरा यहाँ की इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, बिजली हो या लॉ एंड ऑर्डर की समस्या हो और या मजदूर का समस्या हो, इस सब कारण से भी इंडस्ट्री पर काफ़ी फर्क पड़ा है।
हमारे प्रधानमंत्री स्किल डेवलपमेंट पर बहुत ज़्यादा जोर दे रहे हैं, बट यहाँ स्किल्ड लेबर रहते हुए भी गवर्नमेंट की पॉलिसी के चलते यहाँ के इंडस्ट्री डेड होते जा रहे हैं, घटते जा रहे हैं, और यहाँ के जो इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट हैं वो माइग्रेट कर रहे हैं अदर स्टेट में।
The fertilizer factory, which has been shut for more than a decade, is now being revived, and there are also plans for expansion of the Barauni refinery. But local entrepreneurs want more steps to be taken to provide a conducive atmosphere for them to set up their businesses, which in turn will bring more employment opportunity for the youth in the district. With camera person Prashanta Karmakar, Vishal Dahiya's report for Rajya Sabha Television from Begusarai.
That's it on this edition of Verdict 2015. See you again next time.